joining us this evening via Sky, Freeview, and combined digital streams across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So I have today some special tips and strategies for all you singletons out there. And so please pick up the line and do call into the studio. The number is 01924 231 083. I'll be looking forward to taking your calls and answering any of your questions. If you are single, please do call in. I'm here to answer your call and talk through your journey. What is it like being a single Muslim right now, and what are your challenges? You'll be surprised as to how many people out there are probably facing the same things, so you're not alone. So please don't be shy to call in. Also, if you are watching as a friend or an aunt or, a family member that needs some sort of advice or tips to sort of encourage somebody to actually, get something going with regards to being single, if you have any concerns and if you have any questions, this is what I'm here for. Again, the number is at the bottom of your screen, 01924 231 083. So, as we are talking about relationships, I have been coaching couples for quite some time now, and I do find that there is some sort of, way in which that we have to maybe go back in time as to when we decide how are we actually making choices and decisions, and what are our influences and factors around us. Remember, we all have relationships with each other. We have with our siblings, with our families, with our friends. Oh, we have a caller already. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Welcome. Thank you for calling. What would you like to say?
I've just been recommended by a friend to call on this number. I'm just looking for a relationship, to be honest. Looking for a wife. And
okay.
Halal nikah.
Okay. Well, this is a show with regards to your challenge finding somebody. So do you have any challenges? Are there any steps you've taken?
Can I describe myself first, or do I have to say what I'm looking for?
No, if you want to, you can do. There might be someone watching out there that might be interested. You never know. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just a easygoing guy. I'm looking for someone that can, spend the rest of my life with, who's into the deen, who prays. Doesn't really have to look after myself. I can do that. I'm 6'4". I'm quite broad.
Okay.
This is what I mean, like, you're just laughing at me and it's just breaking my confidence, this.
No, this is really nice to hear somebody who actually is brave enough to call in. So you know what? Confidence comes actually from the Latin word trust and belief. And the fact that you called in, my first caller, I really welcome you and thank you. And the reason why I'm smiling is because, you are brave enough to say what you're saying, and it's nothing funny. You see, that is what I like to talk about, actually. You're a perfect example of how people perceive themselves. And sometimes we just have to say what we need to say, regardless of what we are feeling and getting in response. So, you are brave and you actually came on, to actually speak about yourself. But actually, I would like to say that, were there any other steps that you've taken in the past to actually find somebody?
Mm-hmm. Can you repeat that again? Sorry, the last bit.
Have you actually taken steps in the past to find somebody? What were the actual steps you've taken?
I've been married 6 times, but that's about it.
Okay. You've been married how many times?
Sorry?
How many times have you been married?
Alhamdulillah, 4 times, and 2 times it was just like, it didn't just work out. I got engaged, and then I was just too good for the girl, I think.
Okay. So, what would you like to have this time around? What have you learned from your past relationships that maybe you can share with the audience? Hello? Are you still there? Oh, I'm sorry. I think we must have lost. Yeah, okay, well, that's really important. The fact that he's called and said what he said. A lot of us do have relationships, and sometimes it does not work out, and we have to try over and over again. And we should not be here to judge anybody. These things do happen, especially in this time, in this sort of decade where things are a lot more testing. And this is why the show has raised a lot of questions. And I want to bring some sort of like serious psychological topics and strategies into this because I do deal with couples seriously. And in order for them to hopefully not go to those detrimental points, maybe we can have some sort of like enlightenment as to what exactly that we need to be first before we even enter into sort of relationships. We know it's part of our half of our deen. We know that Islam promotes early marriage and there's lots of benefits to it. But are we actually living that way? At the end of the day, I hear a lot of people saying, I'm looking for this and I want this. But we also have to consider, apart from that, is what are we bringing to the other person? And how are we seeing ourselves? And what are we being? It's very well to say, I want this and I want that, but you have to see how the other person is looking at you, and would you be someone that you would actually also be attracted to? And I don't mean just in the physical terms. There are so many characteristics and personalities that exist within our person, even if it's like from childhood. And we don't even recognize it. We project what we are, from our past experiences and our surroundings and our influences that's always been in our lifetime. So as I was saying, we are all in relationships in one way or the other. So we communicate with our families, our friends, and our colleagues, and that's relationships. And I'm certified in relationships and couples coaching. So that is the difference. When you are with a trained life coach with regards to couples, it's totally different. There are things that you need to consider. And as we grow up with our faith, we're not necessarily given these skills, but our faith does bring this. We just don't read it well. I like to bring shows and talks about with regards to bringing Islam and today's psychology and blending it together. So when we, for example, want to find a partner, we firstly think about what exactly we want in them. Now, we need to also know what kind of relationship we have with ourselves. How do we see ourselves? And just as the first caller said, as soon as I started smiling about a comment he made, again, it felt like as if he knocked his confidence. And where is that coming from? As a coach, I would like to know, why did something like that actually make a difference? Why did something like that trigger him? Why did something like that even knock his confidence? And as children, when we're growing up, we might be sitting in a classroom, and if we put our hands up and said the wrong answer, for example, and we were laughed at for it, and if that teacher did not step in and say no, for the rest of our lives, we could be sitting in a boardroom still not putting our hands up because we have that same experience and we don't realize these psychological effects that happen that actually does also play in our adult life. Now, again, I'm going to remind you, please do call in. I don't want to keep talking here and giving you all the strategies just out of my head. I want you to tell me what strategies you want. So you got to call into the studio live. It would be really, really nice to hear some of your voices and some of the issues and challenges that are playing out there. If you could call in, the number's at the bottom of your screen, 01924 231 083. Again, I know a lot of us might look at relationship as easy come, easy go at this moment in time because a lot of us can break down our relationships and find another. But we need to know that it is a responsibility, okay? And it's not a responsibility just to look after somebody financially on the other side. It's also psychological responsibility, the empathy, the emotions that you give somebody else. And, we will be questioned for it. So, and we have to come in there with the right intention. A lot of us even are asking whether it's male or female, that we're looking for somebody who is loyal, committed, who is, somebody who is honest and things like that. And really speaking, and I can say this coming from a Muslim channel, that should be a given, because we know if we do not be these kind of things in the first place, and what you put out there comes back to you. And, the manipulation and some of the characteristics that people are afraid of when entering into a relationship do actually exist. So it's it's definitely something that we need to raise as we are entering into really sort of like testing times. And yes, we are in this current circumstance right now where we might feel that it's not actually happening for us. I actually have another caller. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, I can hear you, Salam. How are you?
I can't hear you.
Can you not hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay, brilliant. So what would you like to say?
I would like to ask, my name is...
Go ahead.
My name is Sarah, and I was going to ask, what are your thoughts on polygamous marriage?
Okay, well, that's a very, very interesting question, and it's very brave of you to call in. And again, I thank you for calling in and asking that question. It is Islamically allowed, and absolutely, you have to obviously know that this is an open channel for all sects and all, thoughts of, school of thought. So we need to obviously understand that you got to know who you follow and what is your scholar giving the advice, because it does sometimes be, something, different in interpretation. So I'm not going to go into the sort of detail of that. But if someone wants to have another wife, then some scholars do say that it needs to be with the permission of the first one, or it has to be not where it breaks up their first marriage. And also, it's an agreement. And there's various factors why that may be. And also Islamically, there are strict rules as to why you would choose another wife. So you need to obviously seek some advice from, the imam, the scholar that you follow in order for that. But actually, just as an individual, considering that if someone put that across to you, you have to be honest about how you feel, and you have to obviously have that communication, because it's really vital that we actually address these things at the beginning. Because sometimes it might be where people look outside the marriage when actually things that can be resolved inside the marriage is also still possible. So there are possibilities where things can be highlighted, because a lot of the times we don't address what's in our own homes and we look outside for things that are missing when it can still be, put in place. And that's why I deal with couples and relationships, because a family unit is really special. And Islamically speaking, it's the foundation, it's the core of society. And unfortunately, with the high level and rate of divorce, is obviously bringing about lots of problems, because the core and the foundation, which is the unit, is actually breaking. So we have to not just be individuals that just go after our own desires, but we have to also be individuals that actually look out for each other. I actually have another caller online. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you. Alaikum salam. Okay.
Salam. Go ahead. Hello, can you hear me? What would you like to say? Okay. Okay, we have her back on the line. Who is it? Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me? Okay, don't worry. Keep your calls coming in. I think there might be quite a lot of calls. But regardless, the number to call again is 01924231083. We will get you back online, inshallah. Yes, again, the question of polygamy, it is something that, it is not something that we can just take lightly. There's a big responsibility when you are entering into something like that. Even the person who wants that has to make sure that everything is equal and fair, and it's not just financially. You have to also give the attention to each household, each person, knowing that they're taken care of. If you look at the stories of our Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family, it was very much for specific reasons, and for also the treatment of each person was actually very, fair. And I don't know in this day and age that sometimes that can actually be done, and especially when, there is just jealousies and things like that. I think we have the caller back online. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Salam. Thank you so much for calling. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Walaikum salam. I was just listening what you were saying, and it was really good for genuine marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. You have to do everything, not just money-wise, to fulfill all other responsibilities emotionally and all everything. I mean, and
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you agree with me, and thank you so much for calling. I think we have another call. Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so as we were talking, yes, at the end of the day, we have to understand that marriage, it is, a big responsibility for both parties to come together. And actually, Islamically, it's actually translated as a shared struggle. If many of us looked upon marriage in that way, we might approach it differently, and also we'll be more realistic about the expectations and not just thinking of the fairy tale, the Hollywood, the Bollywood kind of lifestyle, because it doesn't exist even in that reality of the celebrities. Okay, there's problems everywhere. So that's why I like to sort of, I'm really honored to be in this show to sort of give these tips and strategies. I mean, there are some things in relationship coaching which is called one of the actual strategies is the VWVW window. So that stands for the vision, the worries, the values, and the wants of the individual. And I know you might think, well, am I really going to meet somebody and actually talk like that and worry about that? But actually it is vital, because these are the kind of conversations and the discussions when you're meeting somebody that you need to have, so that you both are starting from a point where you have some sort of understanding of each other and of yourself. So when you talk about your vision, for example, what are you looking towards? What are you looking for? It's not about how much money, where you come from, and how you look. I mean, these are all things that I'm not saying you should completely disregard them, but they are very surface-based. And if you want to have sort of longitude and a very long-term sort of like marriage where you can deal with issues because you've discussed things from the beginning and you know your reasons from the beginning and you've set things in place, there is so basically I would say, if you are having these sort of questions, I will actually take a question from Facebook actually, and the question is, Mohammed is asking, what is the right age to get married? Okay, now that is another interesting question, and I get that asked a lot. Islam obviously promotes the benefits and of early marriage, but what is that actual age? And we have to know that the legal age of your country of residence, and we are in London, we are in England, and we have to follow the law of the land, okay? And that is also in the Islamic way that we have to follow. So we have to know that. But then I'm talking about not just age, I'm talking about mental age and mental ability and responsibility. And then we can't get confused that just because you have a job and you have a career, that makes you actually able to be taking on responsibilities and stuff like that. Actually, a lot of people, even without having that in place, are ready for marriage. It's just that people are not confident anymore, especially parents, to do that. So please do call in. I'm getting questions now on Facebook, which I will read out. Thank you for watching. And, it's amazing to see all the viewers. So basically, I'm trying to repeat the number, which is 01924231083. The Facebook question that I received was basically from Yasser Khan. He said that he's seen in the UK that how society is so difficult for couples to stay together. And how do we overcome this? Well, I don't think it's just about society in the UK. We are definitely moving towards a different way of thinking and mindset. And as I study relationships, if you look at it from the beginning of time in the last few generations, I'm talking about, maybe 30, 40 years or even more, people started off getting married because of status and because obviously they were also, in a financial difficulty. So it was actually good for them to get married to actually build their status. Then they came about, when it was about love, and then it was fulfillment, and now we want it all. So yes, it is difficult to stay together but it's about having that commitment. It's about also knowing the responsibility of. So anyway, I have so much calls coming in and questions. I'm trying to keep up with you all and making sure that you all have your say. I have another caller online. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, we'll come back. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for joining in. What would you like to say?
I'm married.
Excuse me?
I'm married.
Oh, you want to get married? Yes, that is obviously the question that everyone is, saying right now, and everybody wants to get married. But there are steps to get married. There are responsibilities. So, how are you actually looking for marriage right now? What is your actual way of looking for somebody? What are you doing? Are you on an app? Are you, putting the word around through family or friends?
I'm studying.
Sorry, the call is not very clear. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, there is another question on Facebook. Okay, there is a question about disagreement. We have to understand that in marriage, and with any relationship, there is the inevitability of, conflict. Conflict does arise, but it's the way in which you deal with conflict. That is very much a psychological viewpoint of, having emotions, but knowing how to respond and react to your emotions. And remember that when you respond and, react to it, it has to come from friendship and it has to come from respect. If you have those two things in place, then whatever you're actually speaking about and whatever you're saying, then hopefully the other person will have that empathy and the compassion, even if there's disagreement, even if they don't even see eye to eye. But it's the way in which you project. We have another question from Facebook. It's an anonymous. Well, it's an anonymous question, and it's about, do opposite personalities attract? Yes, there is, a lot of, scientific, science behind that. Two different kinds of characteristics do match, because sometimes it kind of mirrors in a different way where they can get along, and it actually can, be the missing part to the other person. Okay. So again, I'm trying to answer as quick as possible because I've got callers coming in. The line is 01924231083. Please do call in. I really want to hear you speak. I'm getting messages on Facebook, and I'm getting Assalamu alaikum. Next caller, how are you?
Wa alaikum salam.
Salam. Thank you so much for calling in. What would you like to say? How can you help you?
Yeah, I was just listening to your program right now, and you said something about the marriage. Somebody phoned you, asked you that what age should we get married, and you said something like that you have to be stable, mentally stable.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, mentally stable? In Islam, it has to be baligh. Like when you're in Islamic way, you have to be baligh, and then you're allowed to get married.
Of course, absolutely. And that's what I'm trying to say. You have to be, ready to take on responsibility. And in the UK, there is an age cap of 16 legally. So we have to take that into consideration, because even in Islam, it states that you have to follow the law of the land. And yes, there's balance. But I just want to also mention that we will be breaking, inshallah, in a few moments for Salat al-Isha. And we will still be taking calls. And please do stay tuned and do keep the number with you, 01924231083. And we will have you on hold if you want to speak afterwards. Please do call. We've got loads of Facebook comments, and I will try and address them one by one as we actually continue after the break. But yes, I just want to say thank you again for watching, and from wherever you are, welcome. I'm Fahima, your SingleMuslim.com relationship coach, and I'm here to help you as I've been doing this for many, many years. And I would love to have your say. Please do call in, and I will see you after the break. I would like to have most calls coming in after the break, inshallah, and we'll see you soon. There's 7 on the line, so please hang in there. We will get back to you, especially when the salah has finished. And we're going to tackle more subjects and more strategies, just given the time. And we'll see you straight after. Please do stay tuned in. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. I'm here, your relationship coach with SingleMuslim.com. I want to welcome you again, and I just want to say I'm so overwhelmed and so grateful to hear that there are so many people out there watching and supporting on Facebook. They're streaming on YouTube, they're across the world, and whether it's on TV and all the calls or the comments, I really appreciate it. I'm trying to be as quick as possible to answer your questions and get through as many as I can, because it's coming from all areas. But I am here as your relationship coach. I do coach couples, and I want to go back to the beginning as to how you can actually choose. We have got callers waiting, and the number again. Assalamu alaikum, caller here. Salam, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam, my sister. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. What would you like to say?
My sister, I signed up for Single Muslim a couple of years ago, and I have a small complaint that I deleted my account, I deregistered, but even now...
Okay, I'm sorry we lost you, but we will definitely, try and get back to you and, resolve whatever issues you had. Rizwan and Nadeem says on Facebook, it's a gamble. Marriage is a gamble. Well, to be honest, we all have our perception of certain things. And yes, to a certain extent, it can be a gamble, but it depends how you're approaching it. There are definitely ways, and it's probably a gamble when you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what you're looking for. And there are certain strategies. And that's why I'm here today. So that, I do not just, take these questions and just answer. I would actually, in a real coaching session, I would actually question your question so deep so that you'll understand yourself and I understand myself what you're saying. Because a lot of the times we are projecting certain things, again, like I said, from past experience, from, different relationships, and we have influences around us. So these things do play part into our future decision making. And you can have all these assumptions and you can have these sort of metaphors into the way in which you speak, but where is that coming from? And again, like I said, Islam does obviously we have to get married, at a young age. It actually builds a character. It makes us be responsible. When we're talking about even young age and getting married, at the end of the day, if someone, parents feel that they're not ready and, university makes them ready or finance makes them ready, that's totally not the exact case all the time. Anyway, we have another caller online. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, wa alaikum assalam. Yeah, I'm nearly 40 years of age. I'm not married, and I feel like I've not got any qualifications for a woman to actually, got qualifications for a woman to actually say, yeah, I want to marry you. You know what I mean? And a decent job to say, yeah, for a woman, I want to marry you. You understand what I mean? I'm not really qualified in anything, and I'm not working. So, what quality do women look for?
Okay, thank you so much for your call. So you're asking about what qualities does the woman look for? I mean, like I said, nowadays it is different as to what people suggest, and it is wide range. But if you're looking at it from an Islamic point of view, the only qualities that are really there that most people need to consider is someone who is willing to actually make that commitment and take on a responsibility. And the responsibility does obviously entail you looking after the other person. So to a certain extent, yes, it is financial. But don't forget that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings barakah. He brings blessing when two people come together. So even if you don't start off with that big bank balance, it might come on later on. And if most people even think that if you have that to begin with, that can be taken away later on. So what is that? What makes you feel that the relationship ends when that goes? Because as we're knowing in this sort of situation that we're in right now, most people don't even have, an inkling as to what's going to happen to their future careers and things like that. So it doesn't mean that we have to, disappear from our family members and we have to, be apart from them. So it just goes to show that when we are considering people for marriage, and if it's only based on financial, credentials or their profession or their status or their name and things like that, this is the time we have to realize it does not really matter, because people actually are lonely and they want to have that companionship and they want to have somebody there. So those are the things that actually are important, to have someone to lean on. And we have Waqas on Facebook who's picking up on this. He said, someone said to me, if you don't have a degree, then, or a job or anything, and it doesn't define you, but it's Iman that defines a person. So yes, there is some people out there that are struggling, especially young men, that feel that they have the characteristics and they have a way of looking after somebody, regardless of them having that stability. And that stability, again, can come and go. And we have to have faith and trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us the rizq, and He will give us the sustenance to move forward, because we're doing something with the right intention. Remember, Islamic marriage is very simple, and it means that, even if you were to provide the exchange of words with the witnesses and the imam, and, two people come together and just make a promise with regards to, the dowry and things like that. Again, I know people and, places like in Iraq, for example, where they are, struck by war and up till today are still suffering from it, but they actually are building from scratch. They're actually getting married, and they are actually living with hardly anything, and they actually are quite happy, because even psychologists do say that when you are with somebody, it brings about more happiness and stability and mental well-being, because you have somebody. Osman Iqbal on Facebook said, he has been cheated on and he doesn't want to experience that again. And I completely empathize with you, and I understand that. And yes, we do have bad experiences, like I said, that does come with us. But don't forget that, what one person does not mean that it will happen again. And I understand the fear, but we have to take steps to work on ourselves as to why that actually happened and what we can learn from it. And I'm not saying that it's to do with anyone's responsibility, because obviously there comes a point in time where, there are things that are moral and not, and it's just not acceptable. But people do fall into weakness, and we have to show compassion to that. And that doesn't mean it's their whole character either. There was a reason why you chose that person, and it doesn't mean that if they did fail in one aspect of their life, even though it was really detrimental and it was a big impact, it doesn't mean that it actually, eradicates you trying again and starting fresh, inshallah. And I wish you well with that, and please don't let this hold you back. We have another Facebook message from Fuad Korhan. He says, all women are looking at bank balances. Okay. First of all, I would like to say that we all distort, delete, information, and it's very easy to generalize as well, to say all women. We might have a majority of women that may look at that, but again, a man also has to present themselves that they are coming with a bit more than just finance to attract the other and be that influencer, so that at the end of the day, when they are approached and when they are seen by the family members and by the actual potential spouse, they will actually, fall for them because of other things other than that. And I'm sure that you probably had experiences where you go in there and you're showing all of that, and that is what it is. But then also accept that sometimes if things are not meant for you, you have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never says no. He only says maybe not now, or wait a bit and I'll give you something better. So we need to be mindful of that. We have Hassanan on another message, and he questions, how much do you have to compromise when you are preparing for your marriage? Well, again, it's always meeting people up to a certain point, and it's a very wide question, and I'm guessing that he's talking about compromising with regards to whether it's, the responsibilities in the household, or whether it's finance responsibilities, or just negotiating in conversation and getting things done. If you understand that you are there for the other person, and sometimes you might be giving more, remember, what you put out comes back to you. It may not be from that particular person, but it comes back to you in different ways. And two wrongs don't make a right. So if someone is not being fair with you, it shouldn't stop you from being fair. And eventually they will see and sense you being in that kind way, and they may be able to match you as well. Because a lot of the times we are in battle, and there's a power struggle between couples, and we need to understand that there needs to be a balance. And sometimes somebody does have to also back down a little bit, or even show a little bit more mercy, not just because they are, falling back in their character, but it's because you're teaching the other person as well. Anyway, I'm really grateful for all these messages on Facebook, but I would like to also hear some callers call me on the studio live, which is, the numbers on your screen at the bottom, 01924231083. I would really like to hear some of you speak to me directly and answer some of your questions and techniques that I have. I'm really glad, Wakas, that you've actually messaged, and I do acknowledge it. And anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for all your messages. And I have now Osman on Facebook, and his message is, he says, I have sabr, and even though I live alone, I don't feel alone. Now, that's very inspirational, and I want to thank you again for that comment. And it's really, really important that you say that, because again, we do things in life as much as we have our human desire and need to connect and be with other individuals. But when you're doing it for the love and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that patience allows you to actually be okay with your situation, whatever it is, if it's hardship within a relationship or whether it's hardship being alone. And nothing ever stays that way for too long. And remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is here sending us, as a test. You're going to be tested with your wealth, with your health, with your children, with your spouses, with any kind of relationship. So this is all part of life. We have Aisha Farouk on Facebook. She makes 2 points. She said, it's good to take care of your spouse, but also there is also unreligious rules, and that is very underwritten rules, sorry. And I'm not sure what you mean by that, to be honest, but I guess, with the rules that are not actually where everyone sort of agrees with, I think maybe, from what I can gather, most likely it could be where culture comes involved. And like I said before, culture is beautiful, and we should celebrate it and we should enjoy it. But when it conflicts with religion, then that's when it should not actually be, adhered to. And that is definitely something that people need to take into consideration, especially. And I really think that, inshallah, I'm answering your questions well, and I hope that, you're getting back to me, with the responses that you are happy with. And if not, please do send in more questions and do call in. We have another call on the line. Again, the number is 01924231083. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you, sister? I'm really glad you're doing
thank
this
you. I hope you're okay as well. You're welcome.
I'm good,
what would you like to say?
I would just like to say, actually, it's just a comment I would like for your impact on, in Islam, dating is not really allowed. So how would you advise anybody to go further to find out or get to know somebody in the proper halal way and following, obviously, Islamic guidelines?
That is a very, very good question, and I'm so glad that you called in. Thank you so much, and it's a very important one as well, because I think sometimes we do get carried away with, being in this life, in this Western world, with the values that are sort of compromising our own religious beliefs, and we do sort of, forget that we are actually, within restrictions and boundaries, which is for our protection. Okay, for men and for women, it is a protection. And yes, we can actually, I mean, the word dating, if you were to sort of like, sort of translate that in English terms, it does not actually allow us in the Islamic way, because we do not actually have anything like that in Islam. To be honest, we do things which is for our protection, like I said. And so we have, again, people that may come along with us as our mahram, as someone who is going to be alongside us to sit and ask whatever questions you want, and if you want to know anything. And even being on the apps, you might think that, oh, I'm protected as a woman or as a man because it's behind the screen. But when two people are even talking together, it can be to a certain extent beyond the Islamic rules. So always be mindful of that as well. And I think to actually to date in Islam is actually to follow the boundaries, which are very clear. And if you were to look again to what your scholars and imams are having with the rules, and to follow that very, very strictly, because that's actually going to be it's very vital for us to approach things in the correct way. I hope that answers your question. The next question we have is on Facebook from Gibran Qureshi. He says that instead of looking for a partner on social media, tell your parents that they can do it for you. Yes, of course. Drama should be treated as drama. Okay. We have parents, aunties, and different relatives and people out there that can help us. There are different forms of looking at for spouses today, and it's not about drama or no drama. I mean, sometimes we don't have the community connections like we did before, and so people do use things like apps to get in touch and also have their own ways. And not everyone has that way of looking out for somebody in their best interest all the time. So I'm not saying that it should be one way or the other. It's just, maybe for you, if you have that, really great, go for that. And, have your parents, provide, the people that may come to you and will actually, give you that chance to look for somebody. But other people may not have that, and not everybody's willing. So, there are just different options out there for different people. We have another caller online. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for calling.
Hi, hello.
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 I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, I'm looking for a wife, but I don't know which one is the right one.
Okay, so making a decision as to which one's the right wife. Okay, that's also a very interesting question, and it is sometimes quite difficult to choose. Again, with each one, it does differ because, everyone has different priorities and there are different stages and phases in your life, and the credentials and whatever you want, does differ. So what sort of stage are you at right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't really hear you. Oh, sorry, the next caller. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Fahima. My name is Ahmad. I'm calling from Birmingham.
Welcome.
How are you?
Go ahead. Well? I'm very well, thank you. I hope the same for you and your family. Thank you so much for calling. Please go ahead.
Really well. My point was actually, and it was a bit of a question actually. Alhamdulillah, I recently got married myself, and I've recently been on the. Thank you very much. But I've recently been on the journey as well. And something that I encountered, especially as somebody who has a disability, is the subconscious discrimination that I think exists and the additional challenges that exist when it comes to finding a life partner. So I just wondered what advice you'd give to people who have disabilities out there who are looking for a life partner and are finding those type of barriers coming in their way, the unspoken barriers, I suppose, because nobody's going to say it to your face, but it is a factor.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. And that is a very, very, very important question, actually, and we shouldn't really disregard these kind of, things that exist out there. And there is a stigma against many prejudice out there, unfortunately, and disability of any sort is something that people do find that they want to stay clear of, or it's actually an issue. But the thing is, there are many types of disabilities, but at the end of the day, people are still capable and able, and you need to just have faith that if you put yourself out there in the best way and the best step forward, it will come to you. And for need to attract, even when people are putting themselves out there and projecting even online, they want to attract everyone. It's not about attracting everyone. It's about being your own authentic self and actually attracting the right one, and that will come to you. So keep doing you and keep being confident and having your faith and having that patience, and inshallah it will come to you. Because a lot of us realize that even in whatever sort of circumstance we have, whether we have the finance or whether we have the sort of things like that, it doesn't necessarily make a perfect marriage. I deal with them all the time. So just because you have something which you might feel that hinders you, honestly speaking, it doesn't. Because people of normal sort of circumstances may still have even more struggles than yourself. I would just keep moving forward. I would definitely keep trying and just push past the barriers at the end of the day.
Sure. And I think from my experience as well, I think actually using online platforms certainly helped in my own situation. So using the online website, SingleMuslim.com and others did help, because especially if you're struggling in interacting with somebody you're meeting for the first time and you haven't got that confidence or you get nervous, I think it's always helpful to be there in an online setting so you can actually talk to people and have that safe zone. Because I think the other issue that I also encountered on my journey was, even if the individual themselves is accepting of a disability, there's family pressures, culture pressures, just mentioned as well. So
definitely. No, thank you for calling, and I totally agree with that. But unfortunately, we cannot, eradicate certain people's prejudice. But again, you need to push past that and see. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is there to hear you, and you keep praying, and you would definitely go past the barriers that is in front of you, and keep doing what you're doing. And you're so brave. Thank you so much. And again, a call out to all the people that are on Facebook and watching. We have Raham Zihra from Uganda, yes, and Imran Khan from Bangladesh. So many viewers across Facebook and watching from around the globe, and I'm so honored, and thank you so much for watching and tuning in. Again, the live studio call-in number is 01924231083. I hope to have more calls in so that I can actually answer your questions directly as to what's happening. It's really interesting to hear everyone speak. And I would like to also shout out to Sophia, who's just tuned in from Istanbul. I hope you're doing well, staying home and safe, and inshallah you're enjoying what you're watching. Please, again, do call in. I really want to hear your voices so that we can actually get more information from what is actually happening out there. So we have Nasser Pervez on Facebook, who is encouraging people to engage with their uncles and elders, and we encourage that in our platform as well. We have the infrastructure to support that. Okay, so yes, again, it's nice to have people around you that support you and can give you that structure, and people that are in families nowadays that have that sort of community sense. Alhamdulillah, we do have that still in our sort of communities where people are connecting and they meet regular, and there are very much occasions, obviously not now, but we normally have that, so that people can mix and mingle and can get to know each other on that one-to-one level, and it's more personal, because also you feel safe because it's part of your group, whether it's even an invite, it's a friend of a friend, a family of a family, or whichever. So that does help. So we have so many people for asking for shout outs. Imran from Leicester. We have people trying to connect, and I can just understand that we are here trying to, give this sort of platform, and I'm here personally trying to help you. And there's many ways of getting through to the show and tuning in. You can download it on your app on Android, on WhatsApp, and any sort of like streaming that you have sort of availability. I'm only here to support you, and I just want to answer your questions so that I can actually give you some tips. And like I said, marriage is a shared struggle. So the other thing is, how do you make that online profile stand out? Again, like I said, we're always trying to do the cliches, maybe give 3-4 pictures, which is just like a Facebook pose or a snapshot, things like that. And, or like when you're surfing or you're on holiday or you have an animal or whatever. And that's all well and good if it's really truly you. But to be you, you don't want to attract everyone. Like I said, you want to attract that one special person. So try to be as authentic as possible, even if it's something that you feel that other people may not be involved, in that. Because like I said, you just want that one person to see that stand out. And you don't have to follow the crowd and do what everybody else is doing. And I think that's what's the main important take. Have Sadia on Facebook saying that she has a super supportive family and she's been on online searches, however, but she's losing a bit of hope. I understand that. It takes time. And for some people, like I said, you cannot always focus on the one thing. And the other thing is, how are you projecting yourself? Sometimes we have to look within as to how we are actually showing up. We do have a projected self and we have our true self. And, how are you actually, putting yourself on those profile sort of listings, and how are you communicating, and what are you showing about yourself? So just always look within first and sort of see what sort of tweaks and adjustments you can make that may be completely unique to yourself. And that's what's going to really give you that added edge. Also, I just want to say that please do make sure that you tune in, and thank you so much again for inshallah, for more episodes. With all your support, I will be back inshallah with another episode next Sunday, taking more calls. And I hope you enjoyed the show so far. And if you do have any more comments, please do share them. Please do support the channel, please, knowing that, I'm only here to give you my insight from my professional background. And if there's any other queries, please do, share, subscribe to the channel, to the app as well. And it does help knowing that you are there, sharing your comments and, giving some sort of like understanding as to what's happening. And it actually me to sort of like answer your questions on a deeper level and be more prepared as well. So inshallah, I hope that you stay safe and well at home. Remember that even though in these rough times we can actually still connect with each other on different levels and different ways, but for now I would really concentrate on yourself and be sort of focusing on different areas of life, because you cannot just be focused on one thing, because that's one thing that can actually help you improve. But at the same time, if it doesn't exist, it shouldn't really deter you from being, a whole variety of things. I really do want to say thank you so much for everybody that tuned in from all over the world and all sorts of, streams. And again, we will see you next Sunday with another show. And really stay safe. Now, don't forget to download the app. I'm so sorry I can't get to the last caller, but inshallah I'll be back next Sunday taking more calls. Again, I wish you well. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.